Welcome to Interfaith Views and Issues, a program designed towards establishing tolerance and a better understanding among different faiths and cultures. I am Shafayat Mohammed, and with me in the studio today is Mr. Bob Israel, the president of ILIR, Institute for Learning in Retirement. Mr. Bob, welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting me. I think it's a real privilege to come here and speak to you and talk to you as a friend.
And I think a person like you, with your background, with your experience, can really contribute greatly to this show. And that's why we consider it a privilege and an honor to have you with us. And I know it has been a long trip to the studio to be here today. However, we welcome you from our heart, and I'm sure our viewers all over the world will learn a lot from your experience and what you have to share with us on this program, Interfaith Views and Issues.
Can I make a little correction?
Yes.
Because I don't want the people at ILIR to kill me. I'm not the president. I'm just a representative of the organization. I'm a facilitator. I teach there and I learn there. So I just want to clear that up a little bit.
Okay, but are you one of the founding directors or something?
No, I don't like to be directors. I like to be do my own thing. I'm kind of an independent operator.
Okay, good. So tell me, Mr. Bob, what is ILIR about?
It's a bunch of retired people who have gotten together to learn. You know, we're in our late part of our life, but we still want to learn. We want to hear different points of view. We want to learn different things, and that's what we're there for. I've learned a lot since I've been an ILIR. I always remember. I kind of remember this story. I have a very good friend who lives in Phoenix, Arizona, who is an exceptionally good golfer and tennis player. He's reached the age now where he can no longer do either of those two things. So he sits, he reads a little, and he's not learning anything. I want to learn to the last day of my life. I want to hear different points of view to the last day of my life. So ILIR has been my savior.
So your base is in Boca Raton, Florida.
Right.
And the membership or students, what kind of numbers are we looking at here?
Well, I think we have approximately 150 members, and we have many different classes. And you can take as many different classes.
On what subjects?
Well, for instance, I teach a variety of stuff. I've had people talk about musicians, and Leonard Cohen, who I don't know if you know who he is. He's a philosopher, history man, and a singer. I had somebody come and talk about that. I've had you, the rabbi, and Father Joe from the Catholic Church come and talk to us. We have current events, a lot of courses in which we get into current events and we scream at each other.
Like on what issues?
On everything, on the election, on what's going on in the world, on all kinds of things. We have people who talk about opera. We have an opera expert. We have a man who teaches computers.
And what are the kind of well, I don't know if this is a practical question, but I mean, I suppose it's realistic. But your audience, what are they made up from? Different religious backgrounds?
Basically,
what about their educational background, experience, etc.?
Well, we have lawyers, doctors, teachers, engineers. We have all kinds of people. We're basically a lot of Jewish people. I would say 80%.
Okay.
But we have Christians. where we have the organization is in a fellowship, a Christian church, and that's where we rent our facility. And you know, it's a mixture of professions, basically a Jewish organization.
All right, and your background, tell us a bit of your background. Where were you born? What career? What is your expertise, etc.?
Okay, I was born in McKeesport, Pennsylvania, which is about 15 miles from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm a Western Pennsylvania nut. Love Steeler football.
Okay.
But anyway, I went to, I grew up there. I went to school, high school in Hendersonville, North Carolina. Spent 3 years in Hendersonville. Graduated from high school there, went to Penn State, graduated with a bachelor's degree at Penn State, then got a master's degree at Pitt in education. And I've taught at the community college, at Penn State Extension, and now at IOIR. I was in the men's clothing business for 40 years. Retired with my brother and I we had 4 stores. I've been retired for almost 20 years now.
That's interesting. And with your experience of your years of experience in the United States of America, you would have noticed a lot of different, based on this program being tolerance and understanding and different faiths and cultures. Share with us and our viewers a little bit about your experience on maybe racism in the past in America, and being a Jew, growing up as a Jewish boy in this country. What could you share with us that will help people to see what we were before and what we are now, and how, the progressive and positive side of life?
I've learned a lot of things in my lifetime, and sometimes it's been pretty difficult. Because I grew up mostly in a Christian neighborhood. I didn't have any friends that were really Jewish. When I was in grade school, my best friends were Catholic. And I'm going to relate to you a couple experiences, if I may.
Yes, of course.
One experience was my best friend was a wonderful kid. We were thick as thieves, I guess you'd call it. And he went to Catholic school. And he came out of the Catholic school one day, and I was waiting for him, and he said, you killed Christ. And I said, I killed Christ? I don't know what. That was what was taught in the Catholic school, and I had to fight my way out of that. And I was belligerent, I got to tell you. And then I went to North Carolina, and the worst thing I saw in North Carolina was segregation. My experience with segregation is that it hurt the South more. The hatred of the black man in the South hurt them just as much as it hurt the black man. The separate facilities, the terrible schools that black kids have to go, the inborn prejudice that the Southern kids had. The South was the worst part of the United States as far as prosperity was concerned. Now, segregation is gone. With it, the South has grown. The South, Charlotte, North Carolina, is the second biggest banking section of the United States. New Orleans, Atlanta, all these cities in the South have prospered and grown.
No, because we have a very wide audience and people from all over the world, etc.
Right.
When you say you had segregation, in what areas they had segregation?
Everywhere.
Because a lot of our people growing up now would never have seen that. We would have only read that in books. We would have only heard that, but you experienced that. And
Yes.
you don't normally, in Islam, probably in Judaism, you have a similar saying. It says when you want to learn, you must sit with those who are wise.
Yeah.
And your age and your experience of course, gave you great wisdom. That's why we're sitting here today.
I know I have the age. I don't know about the
No,
wisdom.
Wisdom comes with age. And I'm sure that you would have seen some things that maybe our audience will really benefit from. What areas of segregation? Like the schools, or an example or so.
I'll give you an example of segregation. I was in a private school in North Carolina.
Right.
And my mother came down to visit me. And we were about 20 miles from Asheville, North Carolina.
And what year are we talking about here?
Oh, we're talking about 1942.
Whoa.
Ooh, that's a long time ago.
Boy.
Anyway, so my mother came down to visit me. And
My mother was not even born, probably.
So we went over to Asheville, and we're waiting to get on a bus. And there was a black woman with a baby in her arms. And the bus was crowded. And the black had to sit in the back part of the bus.
Interesting.
And the white section was in the front.
You see, this is what I have only heard about. I've never seen experienced.
Okay, now, here the white section was empty.
Okay.
And the black section was filled. So we got on the bus, and this woman is carrying this baby, and it's really difficult. And she had no place to sit in the back. So my mother said to the bus driver, "Won't you let this poor woman sit in the seat?" He said, "Lady, if you keep that up, I'm going to have you thrown in jail."
Wow. So the driver was white also?
Yeah, oh, definitely.
Okay.
He said, "That's her section, and that's where she has to go." And that's what happened. Couldn't
So did they
allow.
also have situations where there were only buses for whites and buses for black?
Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean, that's still a progress. Half the bus in black and half in
Most of it was segregated. The black, if you went to a railroad station, you get off the train, there was a black section and there was a white section.
Wow.
And you could never go to a restaurant where there would black and whites would be. The blacks in a movie theater had to go upstairs. It was completely segregation. I don't know what they thought would happen if they talked to a black man, and they did I didn't see it, but I know they did lynchings, and a black man had no chance in a criminal court, no chance.
Wow. And what about your experience growing up as a Jewish person among other faiths? Because I have heard that in the past there have been that sort of segregation where Jews went through a great suffering in the early days, even here in Florida, as well as other states. We want to share some of those experiences, because you know what? It's nice to see what we were before and how much we have learned and evolved into this sort of melting pot and this wonderful way of life nowadays. And I think what that will do, some of the little misunderstandings that we have today in the world, we at least have hope to know that we'll one day get much better. So what are some of your experiences? Like you said, they accuse you for killing Jesus.
Yeah. Well, you know, economics has a lot to do with everything. Yeah. Money has a lot.
Money talks and walks. And
my
everything.
neighbor, when I lived in McKeesport, Pennsylvania, my neighbor was Eddie Henksler. Ed was a wonderful guy, and we were very good friends, and we socialized a lot together. So he invited me to Youghiogheny Country Club, which was a country club in our hometown, exclusive. And I said, "Ed, I'm not allowed to join that country club." They wouldn't let me join that country club. Mm-hmm. But so if you invite me there, and I knew most of the people in the club because I was in business and I did a lot of business with those people. I said, "But I won't go there as a guest if I'm not allowed to join." And I never went there. Another example, and this bothered me too. My next 3 doors up from me, there's a gentleman that's playing football for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now named Charlie Batch. Well, there was a cousin of his who was the managing director of a General Motors plant in our area who lived 3 doors away from me. I'm walking up the street one day, and he said to me, "I'm going to try to join," now he's black, I'm going to try to join Youghiogheny Country Club. I said, you're crazy. They're not going to let you in. And he said, well, I'm going to join. So he tried to join. And they turned him down, which I knew they would do. Okay, he is the managing director or the superintendent of the General Motors plant. He said, from now on, we have no affairs at Youghiogheny, and I don't want any of my management to join Youghiogheny Country Club. So the next year he applied again, and he got in. So I'm walking up the street one day, and this is something that bothered me. I don't know whether I should say it, but anyway, it bothered me. I went up the street, and I think his name was Ed, senior moment, I forget sometimes. But anyway, I said to him, well, I hear you got into Youghiogheny. He said, yeah. I said, why would you want to join there? You're going to go up there. Nobody's going to want to play golf with you. Your kids are going to go to the swimming pool and your wife, and everybody's going to ignore you. He said, well, one thing we know, there are no Jews allowed.
Oh.
And that hurt me, because we shouldn't have those kind of divisions.
So they had a segregation against him, and he had something against Jews.
Yeah.
Wow.
It sounded like that anyway.
I mean, that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
That's
so, I've seen segregation all my life, and I see no reason for it. I may dislike you, but if I dislike you, I want to do it because there's something that bothers me about you, but nothing to do with your race, nothing to do with your color. I want to judge you as an individual. We can't like everybody in the world.
Definitely. And you know what, Mr. Bob, we really need more people like you in the world. I think if we have more people like you, and with your experience and your knowledge, it should mellow things and kill a lot of prejudice and hate and animosity among people.
The worst word in the dictionary is hate.
Yeah.
Why, I can dislike somebody, but I don't want to hate anybody.
Yeah, I think it is so sad, and it really shouldn't exist. But anyhow, we got to go on a short break. But when we get back, what we need to discuss now is a little more about your Islamic experience. What has been your experience with Muslims, or before knowing Muslims, before knowing about Islam? And how do you feel now after coming to know Muslims, and your experience and association with Muslims? I think that might be very interesting with your experience of culture and race and religion, and now with the whole new world of Islam in and around you and in America. So when we return, we're going to talk on that, Mr. Bob. Again, I must say, it's a pleasure to have you with us on this show.
Thank you.
Interfaith Views and Issues. So we'll return after the short break to continue this wonderful experience and discussion with Mr. Bob Israel. Thank you.
Subhanallah.
Tune in to Who's Who in America and in your community, hosted by Sister Naima Khan Ghani, with extraordinary guests every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. on www.alhikmatlive.com.
ولا إله إلا الله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر والله أكبر.
Tune in for Friday Khutbah at 1:30 p.m. broadcasting live from Darul Uloom Institute, Pembroke Pines, Florida, on Al-Hikmat TV online.
जश्न आमद रसूल अल्लाह ही अल्लाह.
Tuning to Young Muslim Talent in America, hosted by Salma Muhammad, with talented kids from all over America, every Saturday night at 8:30 p.m. on www.alhikmatlive.com.
अल्लाह ही अल्लाह. ओ जश्न आमद रसूल अल्लाह ही अल्लाह.
Thinking of doing Sadaqah Jariyah for your near and dear ones? We recommend you to sponsor the Origin of True Islam brochure, the Genealogy of Prophets, or the surahs and zikr to be recited daily as Sadaqah Jariyah for your parents who have passed away. Or you could sponsor one of the items for yourself, fi sabilillah. For more details, contact the Al-Hikmat office at 1-800-804-0267 or 954-986-0158, or email us at alhikmat@alhikmat.com.
Welcome back to Interfaith Views and Issues, a program designed towards establishing tolerance and a better understanding among different faiths and cultures. Again, with me in the studio is Mr. Bob Israel, a representative from the Institute for Learning in Retirement, ILIR, and I'm your host, Shafayat Mohammed. Once more, Mr. Bob, thank you very much again for being with us, and it's a pleasure. And we had a wonderful discussion before we went on the break. Now we'd like to continue on your, seeing that you already shared your experience of racial, religious, etc., prejudice, and whatever experience you have had in your years in America. As a Jewish person, what did you think of Muslims before you know Muslims? And that's what we want to talk about. What did you think? And after meeting Muslims and coming to know a little bit of Islam, what has been your mindset after that? But what has it been before with hearing in the world and reading what's going on?
Well, until I met you and I came to the mosque, I had really, I don't think I've known a Muslim. Certainly in my hometown, there were no Muslims. I went to the University of Pittsburgh to get my master's degree. I may have had one or two Muslims. I never thought about it.
But it wasn't an issue. It wasn't.
No, it was never an issue. The only issue, look, Arabs and Muslims and Jews have not been friends lately, and I am a Jew, and I think about what's going on in the Mideast. But I must say, since I met you, and since I've been to the mosque, and since I've been so warmly received in the mosque, I have again learned the lesson that you judge people one-on-one, or not by what religion they are, or what their upbringing is. You judge them one-on-one.
But with the negative things that you have been hearing and reading in the media, and all the 9/11 and all this crazy terrorism all over the world, let's face reality. Yes, you've got terrorism in the world, and you got Al-Qaeda, and you got all the things that took place with Saddam and Gaddafi, and things you have heard and people we have read about, and being Muslims and attached to the name of a Muslim or whatever. What was your impression about this Muslim and this Islam?
I was angry. Listen, I have a very good friend, belongs to ILIR, was in the Trade Center building when it was bombed.
Interesting.
And he managed to get out. Changed his life. He went to work one day.
Oh, so he was there in 9/11.
Oh, yeah, and you met him.
Interesting, and he got out.
He got out. He was, I think, I'm not sure, 20th floor or something, and he walked down, and
wow.
And he got out. So
he could be a movie star, man.
Oh, he is, but it changed his life. Aaron is, he was so deeply affected by that. It's an experience.
That's a serious trauma.
That's serious trouble. And he, for instance, I'm sure that when he talks about building the mosque down there, he's upset. But again, and I feel strongly about the state of Israel. And the reason I feel so strongly is I saw a film many years, not too long ago, not many years, a couple months ago, in which the Jews in Germany, there was a little section just outside of the German border where the Jews went, maybe 3,500 Jews, something like that, and had nowhere to go. They couldn't go to, the rest of Europe wouldn't accept them. They couldn't go back to Germany, and they had no place to go. Now, with the state of Israel, they have a place to go. I feel like where Israel is and the Palestinian and Palestine, there's the Holy Land for the three religions: Christianity, Judaism, and Muslims. And I think we should share the land in peace with each other. I think, like I talked about the segregation, I think that the land would prosper and grow, and if we could only learn to live together.
Definitely.
And that's what I want. That's it's not going to happen in my lifetime. I'm too old. But anyway.
And you know, I always tell people, I said, in America, Jews come to America, or Jews are living in America.
Yes.
Christians are living in America. Muslims are living in America. And we all live so happy in America.
That's
we
right.
all live so good in America. We live together. We unite together. We travel together. We do business together.
Right.
My question and my suggestion and question to Jews and Muslims and Christians, if we can live together in America for financial reasons and for worldly reasons and for personal gains and opportunities on earth, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then why in the Holy Land we cannot live together? You know what, and I'm very serious about that. I know some Muslims may disagree with me, some Christians may disagree with me, some Jews may disagree with me. But I am saying, realistically, we live together in America for worldly materialistic gains. We do business together. Why can't you live for the pleasure of God together in the Holy Land when that's the Holy Land where Abraham, David, Solomon, Jesus, Moses, peace be upon them all, walked and lived and came together, and God sent them there. So we need to learn to unite. I don't care what it is, we need to break down those barriers and come together.
We have a tendency in this world of ours to find scapegoats. If something isn't working for us, it's got to be somebody's fault. And sometimes we irrationally blame somebody that had nothing to do with it. Let's look at within ourselves and try to understand the other person. And you know, in the long run, if you do that, you're better off and that other person is better off. Why can't we just throw that hatred out of our system and learn to understand each other? I think that would change the world. But
Do you think it's lack of education?
no, I think I've seen educated people that are, when it comes to prejudice, are stupid the way they think about the other person.
Well, you're right, because they're probably educated in something else. They're not educated in the human touch, in the understanding of love and eradicating hate. You know, yeah, that's right. If a man is educated in steel and technology, what does he understand of the heart and love? He might be a doctor,
Yeah.
but he understands the physical aspect of the heart and the brain, but not the real moral, ethical feelings and emotions.
You know, while you're talking about it, I think of Dr. Mengele, you know, the German scientist who used human beings as tests for his laboratory. He was a brilliant man, but he didn't have any heart. He didn't think of human beings as people. We have to judge each person by what they are.
I like that. That's interesting. A man could be a doctor of the heart, but does not have a heart.
That's true. That is so
What
true.
an interesting reality of this world. And you know, that is what makes human beings so unique. Because, you know, I mean, we are human beings, and we are supposed to think different and act different and not be like what we see in the animalistic world.
You know, I have a theory, and it's a theory. It's probably not even it's not brilliant, but I think God created these human beings on this earth, and he turned us loose, and he said, okay, I'm going to give you the earth, and let's see what you can do with it. And so far, we've done a pretty poor job.
Yeah, right.
I think we've not done the right thing. We haven't, you know, we've made a mess of things.
Sometimes in my lectures, I tell people that once upon a time, you know, when you look at India and Africa and all these big countries, China and all these countries, human beings would set up security system to keep themselves away from tigers and snakes and animals that would kill them and that would eat them. Nowadays, human beings got snakes and tigers as pets in their homes,
Yeah.
and they got security systems to keep them away from human beings.
Yes.
Which means that the human beings today have become like beasts. we are afraid of our own selves. You look at the murders and you look at the crime that is taking place, it's done by human beings, as opposed to in those historic days when you'd hear of a tiger cat or a lion killed a human being. Now you hear about human beings killing human beings.
Oh,
I mean, that's exactly what you're saying.
that's right. And you know, the interesting thing, who are the great leaders of our modern times? Gandhi, Martin Luther King. What did they preach? They preached peace. They preached living with each other. The great leaders were Stalin and Hitler and Mao Zedong, but they killed people. Mao Zedong killed 60 million people by starvation. It's terrible. We need leaders who forget about whether they're popular or not. They want to do the right thing, and that's what's lacking in this world.
Yeah, I think we really need to get back that understanding of who human beings are, why we were created, what is our mission on earth. But we just got about 2 minutes again to conclude the program, Mr. Bob. And maybe in a few words, I know you said that you enjoyed the experience in coming to the mosque and meeting Muslims. But over the past few years, since you have met Muslims and you have read more about Muslims and have understood a little more of what is Islam and the Quran, what is really your mindset and thinking now that after hearing negative things and meeting positive people, what do you think? What is your advice to the rest of the world who don't know about Islam and Muslims?
Learn what other people think. Learn that not everybody can be put into a category. Not everybody, no matter what religion, can be categorized as this is what they are. Learn that we're individuals and give everybody a break. Let's start off with just giving you a break, learning that, you know, it's a wonderful experience. I felt so good the first time I came to the mosque.
And that was your first time, right?
Yes. And I walked in, and the first man that greeted me, who was in the office there, made me feel so much at home. And everybody came in and said hello. It's a better feeling than hating somebody.
So do you still know people? Do you know people who still are scared to walk into a mosque?
Oh, without a
kidding,
question. Without a question. We were out last night, and I told them that I was coming down here. They said, well, better watch yourself.
Oh, my goodness.
I said, this is such a good man, and it's such a great environment that I don't have any...
Interesting.
I don't have any worry about.
Yeah, I mean,
and I look so much. I look forward to coming here.
I mean, I understand people's fears. I mean, but again, at the end of the day, you have to be able to be tolerant and understanding, and I think it goes with experience. You know, after 9/11 was on a Tuesday. The Friday, I went and did a lecture in a synagogue. The rabbi and me are friends. It's Rabbi Tufts of Hollywood. And you know what? There were people who were so much against Muslims and Islam, and immediately after, you're talking about, I mean, 2, 3 days after 9/11. But you know, it was a test for me to go there, because I know what kind of hate would have been against Muslims and Islam. But I took the opportunity that the rabbi invited me, and he said, listen, we are friends, and we need to educate the world that whatever took place in 9/11, it has nothing to do with Judaism or Islam or the Quran or the Bible or the Torah. It's human shortcomings and error, and they're bad and evil, that they would have done something so bad, but we need to bridge the gap. And it took a great deal for me to go. Exactly.
I
it was a
understand.
great fear, but I had to, you know, put my trust in God, and I said, that's it.
I understand that. You know, we Jews have a prejudice against Germans, because look what the Germans did to us.
Yes.
6 million of our people were killed. And I've been to Germany, and I found them to be friendly, nice, and again, I try to judge them individually. Sometimes difficult, but I understand, and I give you a lot of credit for going to that synagogue and talking to those.
At that time. It was really hard. It was really hard. Anyhow, Mr. Bob, thank you very much again. It is really, really a blessing, a privilege, and an honor to have you with us on this show, Interfaith Views and Issues. And we hope to have you again in the future. So may God bless, and time is out on us right now, so we got to close. And thank
All
you
I
again.
say is thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So it has been a pleasure to have Mr. Bob with us from ILIR on this show, Interfaith Views and Issues, a program designed towards establishing tolerance and better understanding among different faiths and cultures. And hence we had a person like Mr. Bob with us who could have shared that experience and advice as to how to be a better people in this world. I'm your host, Shafayat Muhammad, wishing you all the best. Tune in for this show next week, same time, same station, inshallah, God willing. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.